boom! You know it's Warlord in the building, the 5-star general checking out. Level of vibes! Level vibes. It's rebel vibes, no devil vibes.
For us, it's very important for us to tell it.
That was a question I was going to ask you.
Yes.
How important is it
It's
to tell your own story?
Yeah, it's very important because it's got to come from us. It's got to come from us. We have to tell it because we're there. We lived it. We experienced it. We went through the trials. We went through the tribulations. We went through the ups. We went through the downs. So it's very important that our kids and the younger generation listen to our story from us, and it's told by us, so that it's told correctly.
That's right.
And it's told the right way. And so it was very important for me, you know.
Excellent. The title, I know you, the first track that you performed for us.
Yes.
Stick to My Roots.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah, it's important because, to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. And so for me, it was very important to try, because we went through a lot of titles. We was thinking of just Hello Darling, and then we thought about it's good to have the feeling you're the best. Because Good to Have the Feeling You're the Best is a song. Back in the day as an MC, no matter who was there, whether it's Papa Levi, Maccabee, Pato Banton, Top Cat, whoever the MC is, you as an MC, you always have to say, you know what, I'm the best.
Yes.
And that's why I wrote It's Good to Have the Feeling You're the Best, because in those times, everybody wanted to be the best at what they did. So, and also the sound system that I was in at the time, a lot of prominent, professional, a lot of international artists have come from Saxon Sound. People like Maxi Breeze, Papa Levi, Smiley Culture, Asher Senator, Roger Robin, Neville Morrison, Danny Colonel, Rusty, Sandy, my little sister, Miss Irie. There's so much talented people come from the sound system. And so when I left King Tubby's and went over to Saxon back in the day, when I got there, Muslim and then sure they just kidnapped me, because I was doing a talent competition in Brixton, at the Ferndale Sports Centre in Brixton, which is like a popular youth centre, sports centre in Brixton. And I won a talent competition there. I was very young, maybe about 15, 16, and 17, about 17, 18, 17. And they said, you got to come and check out our sound. So, at that time, Cecil was being Cecil. He wasn't paying us very much. And even then, it wasn't even really about the money. When I went to Saxon, when I went over there, Daddy Colonel was there, and I kind of knew Colonel because he came from my area. And Daddy Rusty was like my apprentice, so he came with me. And then when we went there, we just liked the vibe, because there was other people like Peter King, a brother called Ruben was there, another singer called Stout. There was a guy that used to come from Manchester called Sugar Merchant, who was there. There was just an academy of talented people.
Yes.
So when you're in that environment, you learn and you excel. Because when somebody goes on the mic and mash up the place, then you have to come in and do just as well, if not better. So that's why I kind of gravitated to Saxon and decided to stay there, and it just grew and just blew up from there. So Stick to My Roots, I just thought it was a powerful title because, it's very important to stay grounded and be humble and just deal with people as people, and there's no ego around Tippa Irie. I've never been that ego person and think I'm above people. So that's why for me, it's just stick to my roots,
Yeah, because you did African during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
And,
yeah.
That could have been the title
Yeah.
of the book.
Yeah.
You stuck to your roots.
That's right. That's right,
So 40 years, Tippa.
Yes.
It's been one hell of a journey.
I'm telling you.
40 years is no little bit of time.
No.
So, when you decided to do the book, how challenging would you say it was for what you was going to omit from the book and what you're include.
Yeah, it is difficult because if you think about the time, because we wanted to tell the story of my parents, you know, so we wanted to start at the beginning and tell the story of where my parents were from, you know. So that's what we did in the first chapter. We speak about Jamaica and speak about Trelawney, where my parents grew up, and then from there we spoke about them leaving Jamaica and coming to the UK to make a life for themselves. And so I thought it was very important because obviously in the 60s, we were born in the 60s, I'm 65, my sister's 66, and my youngest sister, God rest her soul, was 69. So I thought it was very important to tell, you know, what my childhood was like, what it was like growing up in Brixton. And, you know, because we went through a lot of racism at that time, obviously there was still kind of like the no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. So that situation was kind of still going on. And then obviously you had the skinheads, you had the National Front, you had the Teddy Boys.
And we couldn't get into venues. So.
No, and then a lot of our parents were finding it difficult to find places to actually live, you know. So it's very difficult for us. So I thought it was very important to tell that story and teach people about Jamaica, about my dad. My dad was a young farmer, and he took that that work ethic and brought it to the UK. So my dad was a greengrocer, so we had like a corner shop. So I used to go to the market with my dad and buy supplies for the corner shop, and then we used to go to the cash and carry and buy the supplies for the corner shop. And then obviously my dad was a blues dance man. So the property that we had, the shop was on the ground floor. In the basement there was 2 rooms, and we used to live on top of the flat because I was born in Dulwich Hospital. So he had a corner shop in Dulwich for a while, and then we had a house in Brixton Hill. And then he moved from that house and we moved to Cole Harbour Lane, just off of Cole Harbour Lane, East Lake Road. And from there, that's where the magic and the music really kind of started for me, because in the 2 rooms, my dad had one room where he had the sound system, and then he had the tables where man would play domino, Louis, and card pack, and gamble, and then you have and cook food, and then you have a little man selling little draw, and then in the other room was the sound was speaker box. So the sound was there, people would go in there and dance till the wee hours. You know, we used to call it EastEnders. You know, we used to rave until EastEnders, because sometimes, you know, we used to just party until, you know, it was time for EastEnders to come on or whatever. So it was way back in them times. But anyway, he used to rent the rooms to bands. So I grew up watching The Real Thing. You know, you to me are everything, the sweetest song that I can sing, oh baby. That tune there, my dad used to have that band. They used to rehearse. There was many bands, but I remember them because they blew up. And so they used to rehearse in my dad's basement. So apart from the Friday and the Saturday, 2 pound for getting blues dance at one. So we used to just come down. We used to help my mum set up, help her, you know, just assist her basically, and then help my dad with whatever he wanted us to do. And we used to just sneak down and try and just listen and watch the big people and dancing. And then from there, you know, I just developed. I listened to Bob Marley, Gregory Isaac, Dennis Brown, and then I fell in love with the DJ side of things. The MC side, people like Roy, Big Ute, Dillinger, Trinity, Tapazuki, Dennis Al Capone, Irie, all these brothers, I used to just listen to them and then just used to just imitate them and just wanted to be like them. So me and my school friends, we used to just, you know, imitate them and practice and wait the time and tell the people, there's the music coming your way. You know, so we used to just practice them, and then we built our own little sound systems. So before I went on to the big sounds like King Tubby's and Saxon, I had younger Frontline. There was a sound in, you must remember Frontline sound.
Yes.
Frontline sound was from Brixton, so we built our own little sound system called Younger Frontline.
Yes.
And then Commander B, who's a DJ that was on Choice FM, me and him went to school together. And his brother Fitzroy, who's like a engineer, and Fitz, he mixed a lot of classic tunes, all of Peter Honeygale's early stuff.
Fitzroy used to be based in Nottingham as well.
Yes, at the Marcus Harvey Centre. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So Fitzroy, he was in the music side, like the recording side of stuff. He was very important, brother, very important guy. But he was in a sound called Stereograph, Chopper sound.
Right.
You know. And so we made our little youth band sound called Tippa, you know. So that was our little youth band sound, and then obviously I like that name, Tippa, you know. And then I used to spar with a guy called General Slater, but before he was General Slater and Rush Triumphant, he was called Skipper. So it was like Skipper and Tippa. And there was a Tippa ranking that used to roll with Tony Williams.
Right.
You know what I mean? So true, he was the ranking. He said, no, me have to be the Irie.
Yes.
You understand me? Irie, you know, means making people feel good.
Yes.
So I wanted to make people feel good with my lyrics and with my music. So that's kind of how I got the Tippa Irie. So I just put the two of them together and said, yeah, this is going to be my artist name, Tippa Irie. And then it just kind of stuck. I just stuck with it. And then, you know, it just kind of just like gradually, you know, when you're listening to the teachers, you listen to them, but then you start to develop your own identity and your own style. And that's basically what happened. So gradually, I started to just enter talent competitions, go around to the blues dance sounds and like Sir Lloyd,
Yes.
Nasty Rockers, all these sounds they used to play in a lot of the blues dances. There was a brother called Keaty Ichus, he had a song named Ichus. And then at Dick Shepherd School, Stereograph used to play at Dick Shepherd in Towers Hill, and then in Shepherd's in Brixton on Welton Road, which was like the main front line in Brixton at the time. You had a sound called Smollax.
Yes.
Keaty Smart, yeah, Keaty, you remember him, right? Yeah, so we used to go to his dances and skank, you know, because before I was an MC, we used to dance. You know, we used to dance, we used to be doing the splits, I can't do them no more. You know, we used to jump up and skank and do the splits, and of course we used to listen to Shaka.
Yes.
You know, just Shaka, God rest his soul, past
Yes.
recently.
Icon.
Yeah, Icon. So we used to go to their dances and just dance. And then after a while, you know, I linked up with Sir Lloyd. And Sir Lloyd, he had a little label called LGR. And he said, Tip man, it's time for you to put something on vinyl. So that's when I think I was 17 and I made my first song called The Opposite. Just a simple lyric. And back then we never used to write lyrics, we used to just make them up and just rehearse them and rehearse them.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Yes.
And so I did this tune called The Opposite, you know, just a simple lyric, the opposite for Prince Charles is Lady Diane, the opposite for right is wrong, the opposite for weak is strong, and stuff like that. And he heard it and he said, I want to put that on record. So he brought me to the studio, and when I went there, Drummy Zeb was there from Aswad and Tony Gadd. So I had Aswad actually produce my first ever tune. So I was pretty lucky because I've always kind of been lucky enough to be surrounded by really talented people. And so when they done that tune, obviously he put it out, and it was on the B side of a tune called My Valentine from Talks, and that was my first ever release.
So some of these stories we'll find in the book.
Of course, it's all in there. It goes through my early childhood, you know, playing marbles on the road, playing conkers, playing penny up the wall, my dad running after me, you know, when I should be at school, and I'm out playing penny up the wall with my brethren there and my dad. They tell me, say, Tip, your dad's coming, so we have to run. I don't know where I was running to because I had to go home. You know what I'm saying? I had to go home, but we did that. So it tells the early stories, and then it moves on to my musical career. You know, and from my musical career, it tells the story of me becoming famous, from being in my dad's basement, then to getting on to Top of the Pops.
Right.
You know, so from Soloe, I did that, and then I did a series of live albums, DSYC, and which was live albums with me, people like Papa Levi, you know, Ricky Rankin, Horseman, with Peter King, Lorna G, people like that. So we did a series of those albums, and then that's after those albums came out, that's when Saxon kind of really took off.
Yes.
And then when Saxon took off and we started to play in dances again, sounds like VROCKET,
yes.
Sounds like Coxon,
Unity,
Unity, Java, Young Lion,
yes.
all these sounds. Record labels then became interested because they could see the talent on the sound. So Maxi Breeze got signed to Virgin, yes. Papa Levi got signed to Island, and Tippa, Irie, Daddy Rusty, Sandy, Colonel, we all got signed to Greensleeve Records.
Yes.
And Smiley Culture and Asher Senator, they got signed to Fashion Records.
Right.
So, and then my career just kind of took off from there.
Right, brilliant. I've noticed over the years that your lyrical contents in your songs,
Yes,
very powerful.
yes,
Always a message. If it's female lyrics,
yeah,
it's the contents are very good and not
the origin.
the origin.
Yeah,
So for me, you've always done powerful messages in your songs.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Which is something that I love with you.
yeah.
Who's inspired you over the years? Because for me, I think the material that you've put out, I know you mentioned that the DJs and
The
artists
elders.
that you've listened to over the years,
Yeah.
along the way.
But there's so many.
But
It's-
is there anybody that has inspired you over the years?
Well,
And giving
there's,
you advice?
yeah, there's errors, you know, because the guys that I mentioned in the early part, you know, was who I was listening to when I was a young boy. But then as I got older, there's people like the Brigadier Jerry,
Yes.
Charlie Chaplin, Josie Wells. There was that era of MCs which was cultural. So because I used to listen to those cultural teachers, that really inspired me. But then of late, it moved on to Papa Sam, Lieutenant Stitchy, and Professor Nuts.
Right.
So those three MCs, they kind of reminded us of ourselves. Because if you think of Papa Levi, people like Maccabee, you know, to me, Maccabee is probably the best lyricist. You know, everybody has their favorite DJ, but my favorite lyricist is Maccabee. You know what I mean? And so Maccabee inspired me a lot as one of my peers. You know, but Papa Sam, because of the way he built his lyrics and the length of his lyrics, he inspired us a lot because we wanted to be able to, as the tune start, we wanted to ride the rhythm until the end and build lyrics till the end. And then when the rhythm finished, we keep going and keep going and keep
that's
going.
how it was those days.
Yeah. So those people were really the ones then that really inspired me, especially Papa Sam, Lieutenant Stitchy, and Professor Nuts.
You spoke about Saxon,
Yes,
which has been a major part of your career,
definitely.
right?
Can't get away from it.
Can't go into away. Expand a bit more. When you mentioned that you left from Tommy's,
Yeah,
went to Saxon.
yeah.
Speak to me about some of the great moments.
Yeah, well, one of them, well, it's like when you, like I said, when you're around so much talented people, they inspire you, they lift you, they push you. They, you know, a lot of people say to me, they love me around my MCs. They love me because they push me to that next level. So there's many dances that I can recall that was special, because there was one in particular in Auckland, in Birmingham, where we went there and the sound was strung up, and I don't know if I was staying at a hotel or something, but I came a little late. And it was inside was full and outside was full. So I couldn't get in to perform because it was so full. And then I was outside with the people then outside, and they would say to me, "Tip, what are you doing out here? We're going there to see you. Why are you outside?" You know what I mean? So when I finally got inside now, and you just open your mouth and the roof, because those days...
Was that the 6 sound clash? Were the 6 sounds?
It's possible, but I think it was, I think there was a sound in Birmingham. I think it was called Jungle Man or Quaker City.
Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's like, when a place is so full that you feel like you're walking on air.
Yes.
So you're walking through and you're trying to get through, but you're not touching the ground.
Yes.
Because it's just
It's
so much people. So the dance when we went, a couple of times there was a brother called Big T.
Yes.
I think it was Big T and Massive. They promoted
Right.
that dance. And so Oakland's in Birmingham. I have to mention People's Club, which is Parade Street, Paddington, when Saxon would clash with Coxon. Because we were the young pretenders, and their man was bigger man for we. So obviously you got the young upstarts coming in, and they couldn't really manage us, especially lyrically.
Yes.
They could musically, but lyrically they couldn't. They had MCs, but obviously for our MCs were just a bit more. We just had too much lyrics for them at that time. So clashing with Coxon, clashing with just coming to Birmingham. There was Vent Street also in Huddersfield.
Yes.
That was a classic venue as well.
Venue.
Yes.
VROCKETINTERNATIONal did their fair share of clashing with Saxon.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
I know. But Vent Street was a venue.
Yes, classic Huddersfield.
Huddersfield venue
Yes.
that we went to, and then of course Chapeltown
Leeds.
in Leeds.
Yes.
We used to play up there a lot, and then in Manchester there was a sound called Byron.
Baron Turner.
Byron,
Yes.
yeah, we used to play with them as well. So all these dances were memorable, and it was like a little Beatles mania at the time for us. So it was very
Northampton.
yeah.
So every city had their classical
venue
that you
we
go
go
to with
to.
Saxon.
And then obviously you had Four Aces
Yes.
in Dalston as
Dalston,
well, all of these places. So there were all these dances that were memorable, and so it's hard to pick one particular because they were all, iconic venues,
Yes.
iconic sessions, and we used to play in a place called Coliseum in Harleston
Right.
as well, and we used to clash with Volcano, a sound up there, and then in Battersea we used to clash with Young Lion,
Yes.
and that was they used to give us trouble, but we still had the lyrics for them, but they were good. Daddy Willie, Mr. Palmer, all these guys, they used to try, but fail most of the time, but it was good times. There was so much. So much of these sounds, I'm surprised I can even remember them anymore, but they're coming back as we're
I
speaking.
would expect a good part of the book would consist of the Saxon era.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter that's dedicated to Saxon sound, and it also tells the history of the sound when Dennis and Lloyd Francis in 1979 they started the sound. So it tells the history, and then obviously I put in some of those memories.
Yes.
And of the dances.
I've not read the book yet.
Okay.
But I'm open to read in the book. And I know this is a very delicate thing for you, but
Yeah.
I have to touch on this.
Yes.
Is Miss Irie.
Yeah.
Because I know when we lost Miss Irie,
Yeah.
it set your backs.
Yeah, because if you lose your sister, just naturally from cancer or an illness, then that's painful enough. But when she's taken from you, it's even more painful because, you know, really she should be here now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So she didn't die of an illness, she was taken. So for me, that was a painful time because obviously it's my little sister.
Right.
She's like my little right hand man. I took her on tour with me.
But the timing as well, she was riding up the ladder massively.
Yeah.
She began to make a
a little way because she was touring with my professor as well. Because Irie used to bring her on tours, and then she used to tour with myself. And my big sister is a singer too. My big sister is in a group, she was in a group called Metropolis. So my mom used to always say, you don't know where we get you on a tree from, you know, because they all are musically inclined. So overall, you know, it was just painful. I felt it more for my mom, because when a mother loses her child, there's no greater pain than that. And then when you lose somebody that you're so close to, it's unbearable.
Right.
And when I saw my sister, how I saw her, my legs just gave away when I went to the hospital, because I knew that she wasn't going to come back. I knew this was it for her, you know what I'm saying? So it was a painful time, and when those times happen, I just go into music, you know? That's kind of what got me through.
Right.
The music. I wrote a tribute song to my sister. I lost my dad 6 months before. So my dad died in Jamaica, so we went to Trelawney to bury him. And then 6 months after that, I lost my sister. So for my mom, you know, we had to, you know, deal with 2 funerals of immediate family in a short space of time. So that took a toll on us. But, you know, most of the time I just delved into the music, write songs, make music, and that kind of helped me to go through it. Anything I'm going through, it's just me. I've got a tune on the album, Stick to My Roots, called Me and This Mic, you know? And no matter what I'm going through, I always revert back to my music and the mic, and that helps me through.
Right. Have you done anything else other than occupationally, other than music?
Well, not really, but when I left school, you know what our parents are like. You know, I left school with not much qualifications. And on the Friday I left school, when I went in, my mom said, Tony, we have a job for you. So I'm like, all right, Mom. When I left school, the Friday I was mixing cement. I was a laborer. So my friend Joe, he was a qualified plasterer. So I was doing building work. So I mixed cement, but I wasn't very good. Well, cement is not very difficult, but lifting cement bags wasn't my thing. And mixing cement and then carrying it to him, you know, wasn't really my thing. And if anybody remember the 80s, that was when we really had snow, you know. The snow, what's happening now is job business. Back in the day, we had real snow, real fog and real things. So when I used to go to work, when I left school, we used to have our work clothes, and we used to have those big barrels. So we used to take the cement out of the barrels and put the paper into the barrels and set the barrel alight. And that's how we used to warm our hands and warm up our overalls before we started work. So for a while, I did that for a while, and then I must have made a mistake on the building site. And the foreman said to Joe, Joe, this money I can't work. He is not cut out for this work. So when I realized, I think when I first got my first wages from the sound system, I said, okay, I can make a living out of this. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to make this work for me. I worked for BMW for about 6 months, and I was delivering parts. So basically, you used to go to the warehouse, pick up the parts, and bring them to the different garages. And then I worked in Red Records in Brixton. I don't know if you remember Red Records.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I worked there for 6 months, but it just kept getting on my nerves because people was coming like, Tippa, what are you doing in here? I said, I'm working. It's like, are you working here? I'm like, yes, I'm working at Red Records because it's music. I love music. So, and anyway, well, I did that for 6 months till that get on my nerves. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do my music and I'm going to make it work for me. So I just put all of my energy into writing lyrics, making music. When I was on Green Sleeves, I think they paid us about £250 to sign for Green Sleeves. I think Fashion was offering us £100. So Green Sleeves offered us a bit more.
Yes.
So we signed for Green Sleeves. And then I did Tippa, Irie and the Colonel Just a Speed. That was the first tune, and that went to number 2. Then I did It's Good to Have the Feeling You're Best. That was in the top 10. And then I did Poplar Neighbor, and that did very well as well. And then Hello Darling came. And when Hello Darling came, we just went to another level, you know. And then that's when I did Top of the Pops.
One of my favourites as well.
Yes, that tune kind of changed my life. It enabled me to say, Mom, go and look for the house. I could buy my little studio, get myself a little car. And so it was just like, you know, all of a sudden I became handsome. You know, you know what it's like when you're young and like my best friend was a handsome dude, Rusty, you know. So I was just a little goofy Tippa, slim, mager, and I had my admirers, you know, but my best friend had all of the queens. And I had my first son's mom, Joyce came up to me and she just said, I don't know what it is about you, but I like you. And then came Micah, my first son, you know what I mean? And so it's just amazing how when you sing, it's just a different thing, you know what I mean? It's like, girls are just like, you like me? You know what I mean? And it's like some beautiful, you know, women that started to come and I'm like, okay. So for me, it was just young, dumb, and full of, you know, and so it was just a crazy time. I just enjoyed myself.
Well, speaking about writing.
Yes.
As any producers,
yes,
or anybody's given you written a song,
yeah,
for you to do,
over the years,
or all your material your own.
Yeah, most of my songs are original. Some of the songs then they're not songs that were written for me, but I did Elvis Presley's "Girl of My Best Friend," but I did that with Peter Spence. So he would sing the original song, and then I would write something original to complement him. And then a #1 tune that I did was with Vincent, which was Superwoman. And you know, early in the morning I put breakfast on our table. That tune there. So it would be the singer singing the cover version, but I would always have to write something original to complement them. But most of my tunes, like Ragamuffin Girl with Peter Honeygale, that was written by me and Peter. Stress with Lloyd Brown, that was written by me and Lloyd Brown. It's a Love Thing, written by me and Lloyd Brown. And then Hello Darling, obviously I wrote myself. Most of my hit tunes and most of my catalogue, you know, was original. Because I just wanted to have my own identity and just be original. And that's what we grew up with.
Yes.
You could not be a pirate back in the day.
Do you write?
Oh yes, I've written songs for Maxi Priest. I've written songs, I used to write all of Miss Irie's lyrics, you know, for her when she was just starting. We used to just sit and I used to just write her lyrics for her. And most of the productions that I've done for other artists on my, because I had a label called Lockdown Productions, and a lot of the songs that's on that label, I would help the artists then write the songs when I was producing them. So I did a lot of writing for a lot of different reggae artists. So I write songs for different people, but most of the songs that I do are original.
What I love about Tippa Irie is that you have a unique sound.
Yes.
You don't sound like anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to have a lyric like that called Original Sound Like Myself. I'm original sound like myself. I can't remember it. It's like original sound like myself. I'm original sound like myself. Tippa original sound like myself. Tippa me no sound like nobody else. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I had a lyric like that, like you would have said, me no sound like, me no Papa San, me no sound like King Yellow Man. Me no sound like Brigadier Jerry, me no sound like, Lieutenant Stitchy. And I used to, it's like, so I pride myself on trying to be unique, voice. And even sometimes when the engineers are mixing, they just said, you've got a unique sound. And even they used to take time sometimes, like Peter, I worked a lot with Peter and Miguel. And he used to say, your voice is just something about it that they have to EQ it differently because of the sound. I don't know what it is, but there's a frequency that I have in my voice. And so the engineers have to work sometimes to get that sound, but it's just natural. It's natural. It's naturally me.
Once you hear Tippa Irie, you can say, Tippa Irie.
Yes.
Tippa, the music has carried you all over the world. Tell us about some of the places you've been and how you've been received.
Wow. Well, put this way, I've been to every country in Europe. I've been to a lot of the countries in Africa. I've toured the 52 states of America.
Wow.
I've been to most of the Caribbean islands to perform. One of the most interesting places was India. I went to Pune, Bangalore, Delhi, all these kind of places. I toured with the Reggae Rajas, which is like an Indian sound system. And then Australia was interesting. When I went to Sydney, Perth, and there's a place called Byron Bay, which is like, it reminded me of Jamaica, it reminded me of the Caribbean, the way how it's set out. So going to Brazil was interesting, but I think the most interesting place was Japan, because Japan has their culture that really, when they're into something,
they're into it.
They're into it.
Yes.
And so when I went there, I think it was in the early 90s with Peter Spence and Sweetie Irie, and Mikey Tuff was playing bass, and Peter Spence was on guitar and he was singing, and he did his own set as well, but I used the Birmingham band and we went there. So after the shows, we went to Club Jamaica in Tokyo. So when you go into Japan, you go into the dance now, I'm expecting to see, Japanese people, obviously, but it was like I was in Jamaica.
Yes.
The way the women were dressed, the music that was playing, the way they would dance, it was like I was
like being in Jamaica.
Like I was being in Jamaica. So that was interesting to see. Thailand is interesting also because it's still the culture was still young there.
Yes.
So it was interesting to see them gravitating,
relating
to me, and relating to the culture and relating to the sound system culture and how it was set out. And it was just interesting because obviously a lot of them can't understand, So I toured Asia a lot. I went to places like Manila in the Philippines. I went to Vietnam. I went to Cambodia. And I'm just a soldier, man. I just go in,
You a road manager?
Well, sometimes you just go, because sometimes you don't know what you're gonna experience when you go. So sometimes I don't have a big entourage. It's just me. It might be me and a DJ, or just me on my own. And I would fly out, and then you don't know who you're gonna meet on the other side. But you just walk with the Lord, and you just go, and you just put yourself in the deep end. and you just go with it. But I think the most interesting place of all was China. You know, when I went to China, I went to Shanghai, and I think I did about 4 or 5 cities in China. It was a jungle promoter that brought me out there, but he loved reggae. And when I was touring Asia, I think I was going to Singapore or something like that. That was a nice place too. They've got like a Singapore dub club, because most of these places, they have dub clubs, you know. So if I was going to Thailand, for instance, on holiday, I would just put it out to say, I'm coming.
Right.
And then all of these places, they said, you coming to Asia? It's like, yeah. So they would contact me and say, right, I need you in Vietnam, I need you in Cambodia, I need you in Philippines, I need you in Singapore, and I need you in India. So a lot of the times I would go to India first and do the Reggae Rajas and tour with them. And then I would go to Thailand, stop off, and then Bangkok would be like my base. Yes. And then I would stay in Bangkok and then fly to Vietnam, come back to Bangkok, fly to Cambodia, because it's kind of close kind of radius. Right. And just go to these places and just do the tour and then come back. And sometimes I would just go for a holiday. Right. And if I go for a holiday and then I would do the tour, and the tour would pay for everything. Yes. It would pay for my holiday, it would pay for my this and pay for everything. Yeah. And then plus I would make some money on top. So it's a lifestyle. Yes. You know, and I love this lifestyle.
Tippa, we rush for time. And
yes.
I want to open the floor to asking you some questions. Yeah. So I'm going to just ask you 2 more questions.
Yes.
One of which, from the time you started, back in those days, yes. Now, what would you say are the major changes in the industry in the UK?
Well, for me, I love cassettes, and I love vinyl, you know, and
do you know my car is about a cassette?
Well, there you go. You know, I had a BMW before this car that I have now. I had my car for 15 years. It's a BM convertible hardtop 330i is black. I still miss that car. And it had a cassette in there, and it had the CD in the back, you know, and then it had the little thing where I could put in my iPod. Yes. And play my music. So I just miss the vinyl days, and because yes. It was a physical product, yeah. You know, so you could go to the record shop, buy a vinyl, take it home, and play it. You know what I mean? You just buy it, and then you use. What I used to do is put them on cassette, yes. And then record them all on cassette, and then put it in my car, and then I would play them. But then I miss the physical side of the industry, and the streaming and the downloaded thing is kind of taken away a third, I reckon, of our industry, because we can still make money from shows, and we can still make money from publishing. But the physical sales of it yes. has really died down because of the streaming, because the streaming companies are making, like the Spotify and Apple Music and yes. all of these people, they're making the bulk of the money, and they're paying the artists pennies. Yes. So for me, it's not changed. The internet has made it more accessible, and it's made it so that you can be directly to the consumer. Yeah. You know, but I still think it's not that great for us as artists, because the problem with us is like we're getting played on community radio, and community radio is beautiful, but it doesn't pay us. No. You know, so this is what the problem is. That's why Ed Sheeran and Beyonce and all these guys are very wealthy. Because when their tune gets played, it gets played on BBC, it gets played on Capital, it gets played on Heart, it gets played on Kiss. So they're earning revenue. It's
much bigger.
It's from those, because every time your tune gets played on BBC, you might be getting a £25 and £30 each time it gets yes. played. You know what I mean? If you're the songwriter, you know. So for us, because we're getting played on pirate radio and getting played on certain community stations, it's good because we're getting some kind of exposure. But the monetary side of it, the funding side, the actual physical payment, it's not there for us. So it's very difficult for us as reggae artists and UK artists as well to, to make a living. We have to do much more. We have to work harder, if you like, to survive. So the change for me, I just prefer the back. Maybe it might be just old, but I prefer the back in the day, and I think because I don't think it's changed for the better how it is now for the artists.
Right. Yeah. So finally, then, what advice would you give to up and coming young artists?
Well, it's the music business, so you have to take care of your art and make sure that your art is good, but then you also have to take care of the business side of things. So for a young artist, if you don't know, you ask somebody that you feel knows or that may know, or you join the music union, so that if you join the music union or something like that, you can get an hour or 2 hours with a solicitor. If you get a contract, you can take it to them and they'll go through it with you. And there's going to be information within the union where you can find out and learn about the industry. So if you have, there's all of these different societies, like the Performing Rights Society, there's PPL, there's NCPS, there's all of these different societies that the youths then have to learn about and know about, because that is where they're going to collect, and that's where they're going to be able to make a living in the long term. You know what I'm saying? And to have a career that lasts. Because if I don't make another tune, I know that I have got income coming in so that I can survive. You know what I'm saying? And that's because I have people, it's important to have a good manager. Try to find somebody that you can trust. You have to try to trust somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's getting that person that believes in you. They have to believe in you. They have to love you. They doesn't love you, but they have to believe in your talent.
Yes.
And once they believe in your talent, then they will be there for you and chase. Because the music business is about, a lot of the time you have to chase people. You have to, follow up and say, yo, if this is happening, you got to chase them and say, what about this? How is this? Ask questions. Don't just accept a contract. Just read the contract. Give it to somebody that knows about the music industry and that can teach you about the industry. And it's important to learn the industry, learn the business aspect, and learn about the business of the music business, because it's music business.
Tippa, thank you so much. I could sit and talk to you for hours. 40 years you can't talk about everything in such short space of time.
Yeah, and before we go,
well, I'm going to actually open the floor.
Okay, but before we do that, I'm going to say, can you guys give Lady V a round of applause? Because for somebody that didn't want to do it and that wasn't sure about it, she's a natural, right? Natural. So let's give her a round of applause. This is one of the best things you have done, and you just sailed through it. Well done.
Thank you, Tippa. Thank you, Rastorella, for inviting me to do this. It's something I've not done before.
Brilliant.
I've enjoyed it. So stick to my roots. The autobiography, Tippa Irie. The book is £20. Tippa will sign it, as you know.
I've got a question.
So
can I have the first question?
Yes.
My first question, Tippa, is what's your connection with Lady V? How far do you guys go back? And what's your connection with Nottingham as well?
Well, Lady V is from VROCKETINTERNATIONal, so obviously we used to play against her sound back in the day. So some of them we used to win, some of them we used to lose, but it was sound system, and that was...
Tippa, I'm so glad you said that. I hope that's documented.
It's documented.
It's documented.
Yeah, it's been live now.
Over the years, Tippa, right, and not because you're sat here, there's been so much interviews, because When we talk about VROCKETINTERNATIONal Saxon,
Yeah.
Tippa will tell you, it was always, we have a legacy together.
Yeah.
If the dance was kept on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it would be roadblock. I've turned up to Venn Street,
Yeah.
what Tippa spoke about in Huddersfield, and they told me I couldn't get in because it was too full.
Yeah.
So there's many times members of Saxon would go on the radio and say, we've never beaten them. You know, so here's Tippa today, right? And Tippa was one of the, there was many talent in Saxon as is named, right? But Tippa was, Tippa and Philip.
Yes.
The two, Papa Levi was the two major players, right? We had to bring in DJs from Jamaica to compete. They had their own style. VROCKET was like a sound system from Jamaica that kept that authentic Jamaica sound. Saxon came with a unique sound that had a new style and pattern that the world gravitated to. So for the first time, I've now heard a senior member of Saxon say, we'll lose some and we'll win some.
Well, you know, it was like those days, it's like, that's how it was, because there was nights when we played with Unity, and we probably got the, you know, the lyrics and the music and whatever, but sometimes it's just circumstances of dances where some sounds will come out on top, whether it might be the banter, whether it might be the tune, or maybe the soul, quality, or whatever. So I just see sound system, you can't, it's too much dances to remember them all. But I know it's not every night you would come out Panther.
Right.
Yeah. So
Anybody else?
Well,
No.
it could have been all riding through, because
No.
tell me, did you come against any racism on the stage or
No, not really, because I mean, obviously, the people that used to come to our dances, they were coming to see us. So, you know, they would gravitate to us, and they were people that loved the music and gravitated to us and our music. So it's like, when I felt racism, when I went to Australia, you know, I did a dance there, and it was sold out. And everybody that comes to the dance, they're there to see you. So the love was there in the dance. But then when I came out of the dance and I went to another venue and another event where the focus wasn't us, I was just a black man stepping into another venue where it was predominantly a white audience and whatever. And then, you know, I experienced racism where, you know, you're standing at the bar and the bartender is behaving like you're not standing out there. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I'm standing there and they said, this woman like really not gonna serve me. The other day I feel I could look a while now. And then I go to her, yo, I'm standing here. It's like, yeah, I know. And then she just carried on doing what she was doing. And then I think I went out, I used to smoke my herb, you know. So I think I went outside to have a little spliff. And obviously I walked down the street away from the venue, because obviously I didn't want to smoke outside the venue. So I walked down the street, I went, and I think the woman that was behind me, she must have come outside and watched me walk down the street. And so I looked back and I think, well, this woman here watched me. But anyway, I walked down the street and I came back. And then she was like, oh, so what was you doing down there then? I'm like, it's got to do with you. You know, I'm an adult. You know, if I want to go and have a smoke, it's none of your business really. You know. And then she goes, well, we don't want none of that in here. And I said, well, it's not in here. It's down the street, down over here, and whatever. And then she, you know, and then I just felt the whole vibe and atmosphere of the bar change. So I just said to the two ladies that took me there, I said, look, I need to leave here because I don't like the vibes. I can feel the racism and the tension brewing, and I don't want to get myself in no trouble because I'm in I'm in Australia, I'm in a foreign place, and because that's what I'm like when I'm on the road. I just want to be on the road, and I just try to avoid any unnecessary, especially if you go into India and places like that, because the racism is just not from Caucasian people. I can go to India because I'm a black man in India. You know what I mean? That racism is still there because I'm not Indian. You know what I'm saying? And I felt that there also. So it don't matter where you go, whether it be India, Australia, or wherever, there's still that silly divide, you know, and that silly ignorance. That's the right word, you know. So yeah, it's all good.
One more question, one more?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Where, as a black British woman, weren't you?
Yes.
Where do you feel at home? Do you feel at home in Jamaica?
Yeah.
Or do you feel more at home in British?
You see, that is $1 million question, because although I was born here, you know, the struggles that we go through musically, you know, because if I was Caucasian and did the volume, it's over 20 odd albums. It's a vast catalogue of music, you know, and if I was Caucasian, I'm telling you now, there would be no space in here to fit people, you know. In saying that, when I go to Jamaica, and because I have a house in Ochi, yeah, and when I go there, I'm an Englishman. You know what I mean? So, because me that Jamaica, you're British. I'm not Jamaican. Because I did a tune the other day for Jamaican independence called I Love Jamaica. And I did the tune, and King Jammy's mixed the tune. And he loved the tune. And he said, Tippa, that tune, yeah, Jamaica independence, love it. Never carry it to the High Commission. So he took it to the High Commission of Jamaica, because there's every year they pick a particular tune that they use to represent, you know. So Jammies loved the tune and said, Tippa, never carry it to Babsy Green and say, yo, so she goes, King Jammies love the tune. Who this brother here? He said, it's Tippa Irie. Oh, sorry. We cannot use it because he wasn't born in Jamaica, you know. So that's it for us, Black British. We have a struggle because we're not accepted by the British establishment. And then when we go to where our parents come from, we're not accepted also. So it's very difficult for us as Black British, because you would think that I'd go to Jamaica and be nice, go there, this and that. It's still difficult for me, you know, to get an interview. Well, I was in Jamaica for 5 weeks, and I went to dancehall. There's an event called Dancehall Thursdays that Peter Metro and them keep that every Thursday. Boombox, well, it's not even Boombox, it's Dancehall Thursdays, but similar event. And I went on there, and the first time I went on there, I smashed the place to pieces. So the Prime Minister in contact Peter Metro and said, yo, this platform, that English guy, you know, he was very good. You know, because it's like they don't realize that there's a lot of talented people, like British people in England. So it's like, yo, that English guy, they're good. And then I went back there again recently, and I went on there and I even smashed up the place even more than I did the time before. But there's still nobody from Irie FM or RJR or whoever one time that reached out and said, come in to do an interview. So this is why I try to say to us here in the UK, look after your own, support your own. Because when I go to America, they're playing Drake and whoever, they're looking after their own. They're not supporting us. You understand me? And when you go to Jamaica, it's the same thing.
On that note, I I would expect the book to be featured on mainstream
Yes.
as an iconic reggae artist
Yes.
in the UK.
Yeah.
That's known globally.
Yes.
Are you coming up against any barriers?
Yes, of course. I mean, I have done, when the book was released, I did do quite a few BBC interviews, you know, and here and there, and some other, but no television station, no channel, no BBC One, no BBC Two, no ITV, no Channel 4, no Channel 5. We had a publishing company that reached out to all of those organizations and television companies, and we didn't get an interview from none.
Did you even get a reply?
I'm not sure. I think the publisher, well, we didn't get the interview, so you know, at the end of the day, we never got none. So for me, it's like I have to just do. You know, you can't have the chip on your shoulder. You just have to keep rolling, keep going and doing what you're doing, and the Father will bless.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
So yes, Tippa is going to be here for a lot longer. Lady V's going to be here for a little while longer. He's going to be here for some meet and greet in your pictures and your books. But at 5 p.m. we're having a Jamaican Heritage evening. We've got most of our showcase coming up from Birmingham. They're going to be performing a set here. We've got Benny from VROCKETINTERNATIONal, they're going to be here as well. So tell your friends, it's a free entry thing. And yes, Mark Ross is going to be playing some tunes as well. To go to the DJ. It's a family-friendly event. You can tell your family, little friends, and children are welcome as well. So come on down. We're going to be here till 8 p.m. celebrating Jamaica music, roots and culture. I'm a Trini, and I love reggae music, and I love Tippa Irie, and I love Lady V. So thank you all for coming today, and yeah, man, we have a good time. Thank you so much.
Kaboom! You know it's Warlord in the building, the 5-star general checking out. Level of vibes! Level vibes. It's rebel vibes, no devil vibes.